But some of you may be thinking, well, Chuck, come on. How tough can it be with relationships, managing and developing relationships? Well, you just treat people the way you want to be treated, right? Simple enough. And guess who that works for? It works for people who are exactly like you are, right? Now, I know if I went out and hired everybody who was exactly like me, it wouldn't be a pretty picture. It wouldn't be a pretty at all. And I realize there are people who have talents and skills that I need to help me develop and grow my business. And I need to develop relationships with them. And here's the interesting part. There are times when we'll sit there, we'll pick up a phone when there's someone like us it's easy to deal with, and hey, let's go out to lunch. Hey, let's grab coffee. Or you stop by their office, you stop by their cubicle and say, hey, what about something off of you? Because they're someone like us, we know what to expect. We know how they're going to respond. They're not going to go wacko on us or anything. And so we're comfortable with that, and it's easy to do. Now, what happens when people aren't like us, we go to pick up that phone to call them, and it's like, I don't know how they're going to respond to that. That's, you know, I think I'll text them. Maybe I'll send them an email, right? Admit it's true. And think of salespeople. We get stuck in that scenario too. We have these default behaviors where we go to pick up the phone and, you know, they don't need my product or service. I'll just send them an email, right? And that happens. And what is it about that part of the brain that keeps us from picking up the phone and calling them and seeing if they want our product or service? There's something that happens with the brain that's really intriguing, and we're going to talk about that, okay? And we're going to let you in on something that happens with the brain that'll change your whole perspective and outlook on doing business. And here's what happens when we get the amygdala shutting down the thinking part of the brain. Would you help me with that? Would you take that out of there, please? I need another volunteer over here. Okay? And when you get it taken out of the package, stand up and show the audience what you've got. And what can you do with that sticky brain?
Throw it against the wall.
And that's about all it's used for. All right, thanks, guys. That's what happens when the amygdala puts chemicals into our bloodstream. We literally get a sticky brain. Sometimes when they say, you know, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, right? And if you have a chemical brain freeze and you have to leave the kitchen, sometimes that's when you need to be your best. And sometimes people will say, well, Chuck, what do you do? I said, I help people. When the heat gets turned on in the kitchen, I help them take a step back, regroup, and go back into that kitchen more powerfully than before. He said, there's two things that you're going to encounter throughout your career at becoming an exceptional leader. And you definitely need to hone these skills. He said, number one, you need to develop relationships. And that's something you constantly need to do. And he said, the second thing you need to do, he said, you need to be able to manage change. He said, because if you don't do the first one, developing the relationships, the change is not going to happen, right? And we've seen that, haven't we? The other thing that Bill would tell everybody, and as he would talk to them, he constantly reminded them, he said, people, remember. And he called this his pearl of wisdom. We all know what a pearl of wisdom is, right? That little good piece of advice we get. He said, people don't leave companies. People leave people. And I thought that was a 24-karat pearl. I mean, that was a pretty good one to remember. People don't leave companies. People leave people because there is not a connection. So let me ask you a question. You're all business people, business owners. And if I ask you the question, do you value your customers? Would you raise your hand? If I ask you, do you value your employees? Would you raise your hand? And if I ask you, do you value your vendors? No. I mean, everybody raises their hand with that. Of course we value our customers, our employees, our vendors. Okay? Here's the key question to ask. Do your customers, do your employees, and do your vendors feel valued? And the only way that you can get to the root of that question is to listen for understanding, not listening to wait for your turn to jump in with a reply. Okay, I want everybody to stand up. Now, on the count of 3, we're going to feel the power of overriding a default behavior. So on the count of 3, I want you to give a fist bump. You can go up in the air, you can go sideways, just don't hit anybody, okay? And then I wanted to give you your best, yeah! On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, yeah! Now, did that feel good? Now you know what we're doing, right? So we're going to do it a second time. Let's blow the roof off of this place. Okay? Feel the power. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah! There we go. Have a seat. In pharmaceutical sales, we had a brand new division, and the salespeople were so young, so excited, and we used to call them the sales force that would show up and throw up, because the words would just come spilling out. And as soon as the doctor finished, said a comment, they'd go into another spiel, and you pull them aside. You can't do that. It's like, that's not working. And it was just, they just wait for a stop, and then it was your turn to jump in. But when you listen for understanding, you're not waiting to jump in. You're truly concerned about what they're thinking. And you ask the non-threatening questions. Help me understand how you feel your role is within this organization. Help me understand what we could do to help you perform your job better. And then just listen. And it's amazing what you will hear from people. Because if they think that you truly care, they will open up to you.